I am Dr. G. Jesse John, Assistant Professor, Department of Anatomy, Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. Today we will discuss anatomy of the wrist joint. हमेशा खुश रहो बिटिया. Wrist joint is a radiocarpal joint. We can say in another term radiocarpal joint, and which is a complex biaxial synovial joint that bridges the hand to the forearm. It involves three carpal bones, and the proximal carpal bones are scaphoid, lunate, and triquetral. It also involves the distal end of the radius and an articular disc which lies over the ulna. This is the wrist joint. You can see here. This is the radio ulna, and this is the carpal bones. How they will make the wrist joint. Again, we can see here more clearly, and we can see here the neurovascular supply also. The arrangement of the neurovascular supply. It is the radiocarpal joint, lies at the level of the proximal wrist crease. It is a synovial joint of ellipsoid condyloid variety. Articulating surfaces, the wrist joint is formed by the distally the proximal row of the three carpal bones that are scaphoid, lunate, and triquetral, and proximally it is formed by the distal end of the radius and the articular disc, the triangular fibrocartilage complex. Ulna is not the part of the wrist joint. It is prevented from articulating with the carpal bones by an articular disc which lies between the ulna and the proximal row of the carpal bones, which is this articular disc is called triangular fibrocartilage complex. Together, the carpal bones form a convex surface which articulates with the concave surface of the radius and articular disc. We can see here these three carpal bones together form a convex surface that fit the concave surface of the radius and this articular disc. And this articular disc also prevent the articulation of the ulna to this carpal bone. Joint capsule. Like any synovial joint, the capsule is double layered. A fibrous outer layer attaches to the distal end of the radius ulna and the proximal row of the carpal bones. The internal layer synovial membrane extends up to the margins of the articular surface. Ligaments. There are four ligaments in the wrist joint, one for each side of the joint. Palmar radiocarpal ligament. It passes from the radius to the both row of carpal bones. Its function, apart from increased stability, is to ensure that the hand follows the forearm during supination. And dorsal radiocarpal ligament, it passes from the radius to both rows of carpal bones and contributes the stability of the wrist, but also ensures that the hand follows the forearm during pronation. Ulnar collateral ligament runs from the ulnar styloid process to the triquetrum and pisiform bone and works in union with the other collateral ligament to prevent excessive lateral joint displacement. Radial collateral ligament runs from the radial styloid process to the scaphoid and trapezium. Works in union with the other collateral ligament to prevent excessive lateral joint displacement. Palmar ulnocarpal ligament. It is formed due to the thickening of the medial part of the anterior aspect of the fibrous capsule. We can see the picture of the old ligaments and palmar radiocarpal ligament, ulnar collateral ligament, radial collateral ligament here. Now we will discuss neurovascular supply. The wrist joint receives blood from the branches of the dorsal and palmar carpal arches, which are derived from the ulnar and radial arteries. Innervation through wrist is delivered by branches of three nerves. Median nerve, the anterior interossseous branch, and radial nerve, posterior interossseous branch, and ulnar nerve, deep and dorsal branches arise from the ulnar nerve and innervate to the wrist joint. What is the relations of the wrist joint? Anteriorly, there are tendons of flexor digitorum superficialis, flexor digitorum profundus, and associated synovial sheath, tendon of flexor pollicis longus, and associated synovial sheath, median nerve, tendon of flexor carpi radialis, and associated synovial bursa, ulnar nerve, and vessels. Posterior extended tendon of the wrist and fingers, and associated synovial sheath. Lateral radial artery, tendon of abductor pollicis longus, tendon of extensor pollicis brevis, medial dorsal cutaneous branch of ulnar nerve. Structures on the anterior aspect of the wrist. There will be flexor carpi ulnaris tendon, ulnar nerve, ulnar artery, palmar cutaneous branch of the ulnar nerve, palmaris longus tendon, palmaris cutaneous branch of the median nerve, and it will be superficial to the flexor retinaculum and situated from the medial to lateral. Structures on the anterior aspect of the wrist that will be deep to the flexor retinaculum and situated from the medial to lateral as flexor digitorum superficialis tendon and the tendon of flexor digitorum profundus, median nerve, flexor pollicis longus tendon, flexor carpi radialis tendon. Structure on the posterior aspect of the wrist will be superficial to the extensor retinaculum and will be arranged from medial to lateral. First is dorsal cutaneous branch of the ulnar nerve, basilic vein, cephalic vein, superficial branch of the radial nerve. Structures on the posterior aspect of the wrist that will situated deep to the extensor retinaculum and arranged from medial to lateral. Extensor carpi ulnaris tendon, extensor pollicis longus tendon, extensor carpi radialis longus, and brevis tendon, abductor pollicis longus, and extensor pollicis brevis tendon. What will be the movement at the wrist joint? The wrist complex joint consists of radiocarpal joint and midcarpal joint, and flexion and extension occur along the transverse axis and abduction adduction occur along the anterior posterior axis. The movement at the wrist joint are usually associated with the movement at the midcarpal joint. The wrist and midcarpal joints together are considered as a link joint. Rotation is not possible at the wrist joint because the articular surfaces are ellipsoid in shape. The lack of rotation at wrist is compensated by the movement of pronation and supination of the forearm. What are the movements can occur at the wrists are the flexion. The muscles involved in the flexion are flexor carpi radialis, flexor carpi ulnaris, and palmaris longus. Movement of extension and that muscles are involved extensor carpi radialis longus and extensor carpi radialis brevis extensor carpi ulnaris. For adduction, the muscles are flexor carpi radialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, abductor pollicis longus. Adduction, flexor carpi ulnaris and extensor carpi ulnaris muscles. What are the ranges of the movement of the wrist joint? Flexion will be 0 to 60 degree. Extension will be range of the movement of 0 to 50 degree. Abduction will be take the range of the movement 0 to 50 degree. Adduction will take the range of 0 to 50 degree. Flexion is assisted by the long flexor tendon of digits and extension is assisted by the extensor of the digits. Abduction occur at mid-carpal joint than the wrist joint. Abduction mainly occur at wrist joint. Flexion and extension of the hand are actually initiated at the mid-carpal joint. Now the clinical pathology. In the event of blow of the wrist, the scaphoid takes most of the force. A fractured scaphoid is more common in the younger population. Scaphoid has a unique blood supply which runs to the distal to the proximal. A fracture of the scaphoid will disturb the blood supply to the proximal portion and it will be an emergency situation. Failure to revascularize the scaphoid can lead to avascular necrosis and future arthritis for the patient. The main clinical sign of scaphoid fracture is tenderness in anatomical snap box. The wrist joint is immobilized in its optimum position of 30-degree dorsiflexion. Mid-carpal joint between the proximal and distal row of carpal bones. Rows move on each other as units. The joints act as a hinge joint. So moment of flexion and extension are possible here. In adduction, the proximal row shifts laterally. In the abduction, it shifts medially. The distal row moves with proximal row as the mid-carpal joints locks the two rows together. Then mid-carpal joint is accept concave convex. What clinical relevance? The ganglion. It is known tender cystic swelling which sometimes appear on wrist most commonly on its dorsal aspect. Its size varies from small grape to plum, usually occur due to mucoid degeneration of synovial sheath around the tendon. Cyst is thin-walled and contain clear mucinous fluid. Flexion of wrist makes the cyst to enlarge and it may become painful. Anterior dislocation of lunate. This can occur by falling on dorsiflex wrist and manifest clinically as paresthesia in the sensory distribution of the medial nerve and weakness of the thinner muscle. Lunate can undergo avascular necrosis, so immediate clinical attention to fracture is needed. Colles fracture is the most common fracture involving the wrist, causing by the falling outstretched hand. Radius fractures with the distal fragment being displaced posteriorly. An ulnar styloid process can also be damaged and avulsed in the majority of cases. So this is the Colles fracture, outward stretching position, and Smith fracture is inward. Now this is the assessment question. You have to assess by yourself by giving the answer of these questions. First is what is the Colles fracture, and you have to describe and you have to tell this condition in detail, and what are the neurovascular supply of the wrist joint, why it is important, and in which situation it is disturbed, and what give the pathology of disturbation of the neurovascular supply. So this is all about this lecture. Thank you. Thank you so much.